Hey everybody, it's Jax again from the Popcorn View Podcast. Today on my episode 86, AEW Dynamite recap for 6/17/26. This started off with MJF picking his 5 individuals to make his 6-man team. He did start off by having the Don Cal family surrounding him, and he was picking them off almost as if he was picking his team to play kickball in the schoolyard. He first gave praise to Kevin Knight, talked shit about Andrade. Um, Then from there, he picked Kevin Knight as his first individual. He picked Kyle Fletcher, the Proto Star. He also ended up picking Okada, Jake Doyle, and then he said, last but not least, Andrade. I'm surprised, honestly. Andrade looked pissed. Like I said, I don't feel like he's going to be there long term. I'd be surprised if Andrade is even there for a couple more weeks, honestly. Um, It was just he was in shock, and he's still upset that MJF's kind of like ducking him. He doesn't want to give him a shot. I see Andrade turning very soon, becoming a face. A lot of individuals like Andrade's gimmick. But there was one thing during the playground selection, if anything, you saw Trent Beretta kind of like walking down the stairs, and he was kind of like pissed that he didn't get picked to the point he was sulking in the background. So it looks like another person from the Don Callis family is upset about not having opportunities given to them. Now, they did calm Andrade down, saying, MJF is paying the bills right now, so he calmed down for the moment. But we'll see. You did have Tony Nese for out of nowhere. He came in and saying, "Hey, he wants a match," and out of nowhere, Kenny Omega's music hits and he answers the call. Now, Tony Nese can wrestle, but we know Kenny Omega can wrestle. This was unfortunately a squash match for Kenny Omega. Yes, they're trying to make Kenny look good so he can continue to chase the title. What I will say is though, they made Tony Nese look really weak. Like he started off strong, missed like a backflip springboard or something, and then from there just got demolished. Yeah, you had some people trying to get involved to try to cost him the match, but that wasn't the case. This was pretty much building for Forbidden Door. We haven't seen Kenny in a while. Yes, he wrestled on Collision last week, but it's been a minute since we've seen Kenny Omega. Now, of course, Kenny Omega is not going to miss Forbidden Door. Zack Sabre Jr. already said he wanted to match, so they actually come out, him and his guys. It was like TMDK or something. They came out as if they were about to attack him. They actually didn't say a word. Kenny kind of dips out the ring, goes on the apron or the little ramp that they had going into the ring. The Bucks come out for the save, and so does Jack Perry. Now, looks like the Elite is back together, if anything. They are going to have a match, like I mentioned, Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. for Forbidden Door. But what does that leave the Bucks to do? What does that leave Jack Perry to do? Are they going to be involved? Are they going to have their own match? What are we doing with those guys? Because they should be involved, especially with Forbidden Door. They kind of created that pay-per-view, created AEW. They all worked in New Japan, so they should all be involved somehow, even if they're just walking somebody to the ring, at least in my opinion. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Again, Kenny Omega squashes Tony Nese, and I'm just surprised that it wasn't a longer match. But we'll see, guys. Like I said, Kenny Omega is injured technically from that diverticulitis, and they said he's good, but we're not 100% sure if he's going to be wrestling forever or long term. But enjoy Kenny Omega while we can, because like I said, we don't know when's going to be the last time we're going to see him. Now this match came out of nowhere. It looks like they put Brodito back together. So you got Bandito and Brody King together. They said they were a tag team. They're coming after people. They actually had a match with the Death Riders, John Moxley and Garcia. Um, Good match. They're actually a decent tag team. Moxley and Garcia is kind of thrown together. I said, the same thing with Brodito. They were kind of thrown together, but they won the AEW Tag Championships, and then now they're doing the same thing. So technically, they got to win. Funny part, Brody King did do the Macarena this time with Bandito, and Garcia stops both of them, and he does his little thrust or whatever dance he used to do. So a lot of people are saying they were happy to see Danny Garcia goes back to his dancing. Some people say they can care less, honestly, but it was a good match. Marina Shafir got involved, of course. So apparently they're trying to build up Brodito, it looks like, to possibly challenge CNC in the future. but we'll see. We don't know how it's gonna fall. You know, Copeland and Cage could technically lose the titles one week, and they could be facing a completely different team. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Um, at one point though, after the match, you had Bandito pretty much calling out John Moxley, and Bandito goes, "Hey, I want more gold around my waist," and he was like, "Just remember, you can get the shot." But there's going to be no one involved. You're not going to have your guy. I'm not going to have my guys. It's one on one. If you can handle that, then tranquilo. But we're going to do what we got to do. So at Forbidden Door, Bandito versus John Moxley for the Continental Belt. Hmm. Didn't see that coming. Honestly, it was just came out of nowhere, left field, but it is what it is. We also had a segment with Kyle Fletcher and Okada or Pro Kata pretty much talking about how Mark Bristow's not going to be able to have anybody on his team, and he's gonna just to let you know, Ishii is not going to be on your team. And Ishii was kind of like laid out on the floor by his feet. Him and Okada took him out, stomped him down for a little bit, and said, and he's not even going to be ready for Forbidden Door, so don't even worry about it. So they're taking out the competition. But what do y'all think is going to happen personally? They're taking out Ishii. We actually haven't seen him for a minute, but I'm pretty sure he may still show up for Forbidden Door. It just makes sense. New Japan, he's part of the conglomeration. Even if he's in a sling or in a boot, he should still make an appearance, at least in my opinion. Champa pretty much calls out Chris Jericho. There's 1,004 ways why I dislike you. But one of the main reasons I dislike you is because you're not the same Jericho you were 20 years ago. No shit. Like, come on, man. You're not the same guy you were 20 years ago. Remember, at one point they had you in WWE and you were a lawyer that got squashed. Then you became Tommaso Ciampa. So Jericho's a lot older than you, if I'm not mistaken. But he pretty much tells Jericho the ball's in your court. Jericho has a segment that said, "Hey, you don't want me to be the funny guy no more? Fine, meet me at Collision." So it looks like Jericho and Ciampa are going to meet at Collision. Not sure if it's going to be a talking segment or a possible match, but maybe at Forbidden Door. Y'all let me know what y'all think. The dogs came out, and they pretty much were talking shit behind the scenes or whatever. They're about to walk out and celebrate. Connors lights a match and said, "Yeah, light him up, light him up." Finley said, "Light him up," but turns around, it was actually Adam Copeland. So they start pretty much beating those boys down. They turned around and you had Cage on the other side. So they chased him into the ring, started beating him down. So they're definitely getting their get back for what happened over the 5 second pose a couple weeks ago. So are they going to fight wrestle at Forbidden Door or possibly Collision? We'll see. There's going to be a lot of matches. We know there's been a lot of add-ons already. They have 0 hour that typically has anywhere between 2 to 4 matches. And on top of the normal card is usually 8 matches or more. So Forbidden Door is going to be a huge pay-per-view. Um, Stardom, CMLL, and you have New Japan and AEW all in one. So man, it's going to be a hell of a card. Um, don't know how it's gonna fall on the card, honestly, but we'll see, guys. The dogs looks like they're gonna have to be chasing um, CNC a little bit longer, but I definitely see a match going down that way. You had Mercedes Monet, and if I botched this name, sorry, versus Hazuki. She's from Stardom, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she's from Stardom. Apparently, she's actually already beaten Mercedes Monet in New Japan at some point. So this was kind of like uh, a rematch or a grudge match between the two ladies. But the CEO was actually getting love this week. Like I mentioned last week and the week prior, I didn't feel like people were feeling her when she re-debuted a couple weeks ago. But it looks like they're actually okay with her. Um, Honestly, Hazuki was actually doing her thing. She kicked the shit out of Mercedes at one point that she had her whole side of her face was red. And I know it could also be that she had a red wig on, so maybe the ink or the redness of the wig might have rubbed on her face, but I really believe that she kicked her at least one good time in the face, and that kind of will cause Mercedes' face to turn red on that one side. But this match was back and forth between the two ladies. I've never seen Hazuki wrestle, but she did amazing. There was one botch that she did, but she still continued the match. Back and forth. Honestly, this match was back and forth. You literally saw it on Mercedes' face that she was in shock how well Hazuki was doing against her. But at the end of it all, Mercedes does win this match with a submission. and she's in the finals. So who do you think she's going to end up going against? I think they wrestle at Collision this weekend. Athena versus Maya World. I'm actually shocked. You know, a lot of people complain about not having black wrestlers or women wrestling, and right now you're about to have possibly, or no, for sure, two black women in the finals for the Owen Hart tournament for on the women's side. Is going to be it's going to be Mercedes Moné either versus Athena or versus Maya World. So it's going to be two black women at the final of the Owen Hart tournament, and then a black woman's going to get a title shot for the AEW World Championship. I mean, what else can you ask for? People complain about women not getting a shot, people of color not getting a shot, and then boom, AEW doing all three in one shot. I'm okay with that. Now, Maya World surprised me last week when she beat Sky Blue. Like I mentioned, I don't know if what's it called? I don't know if Sky Blue was intended to lose already and they just continue the story, or Maya World they wanted to give her a shot and put her on the stage to everybody to see her. But Maya World is possibly I don't think she'll do it. I think it's gonna be Mercedes versus Athena personally, but we'll see. Looked like they liked Maya World a lot, that they pushed her to the semifinals and possibly the finals against Mercedes. I still see Mercedes winning the entire thing. Honestly, Mercedes, I think this is her year to win the women's championship. But y'all let me know. Who do you think is gonna face Mercedes? Is it Maya World or is it Athena? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. You had Will Ospreay, the aerial assassin versus or face to face rather, Swerve Strickland, the most dangerous man in AEW. Now, Will comes out. He's having a good time with Tony Schiavone, and he's pretty much saying like, "Hey, congratulations, you were just married." He was like, "Yep, thank you, I appreciate it." He was like, "I should be on my honeymoon, but my wife did tell me that Hawaii is never going, it's not going anywhere. So go chase your dream to Wembley. We can go after the fact." So his wife is, I see that she's feeling better about her loss now. Um, Will Ospreay did throw out a little jab at his wife a little bit, at least in my opinion. He pretty much said that he banged her brains out and then told her clean up and he's going to Houston, Texas. So I'm shocked they allowed him to say that personally. Like yes, AEW is a little bit more on the edgy side. I'm just surprised they allowed that. Because even Swerve was talking to a Will at one point when he comes out and they bleeped out an entire segment or a sentence of what he said. It must have been so bad they knew he was going to say it and just bleeped the whole thing out. So I'm surprised that Will was able to get away with something, but Swerve wasn't. But we'll see. Now, they pretty much blamed each other. Swerve's mad because he listened to Will and allowed Hangman to get his title shot. He's like, "But where's Hangman now? Without the title, and he can't even compete for the AEW World Championship anymore. So what was the point of us letting him get the title shot?" And he goes, "Well, what happened when, we had that pay-per-view match? Where were you? You were nowhere to be found. So you left me." So they're both mad at each other for two different reasons. And he's like, "Yeah, but you hanging with the Death Riders, and then, we tried to stop them. We did the same thing with the Bucks. We stopped them, and now you go on riding with them." He was like, "What's wrong with you, man? Like, you're not the same person anymore." And Will was like, "You're right. I'm not the same person. My ground game's getting better. I'm more of an assassin, if anything. And this is about me and you." He goes, "You're my friend. You're like my brother. But if I got to go through you, just know that I'm going to go through you." He goes, every child that lives out there wants to win, wants to kick the winning goal at Wembley Stadium. He was like, "I'm one match away from hitting my winning goal." Now, I keep saying they can both be tremendous champions, but I definitely feel like this is the year for Will Ospreay. He's won other titles. He's done other things. They've always kept him in the loop. They've always had him out there. I definitely see Will Ospreay winning the championship this year. Maybe his first feud will be with Swerve. Um, after he wins the title, Samoa Joe has issues with him. He just took a break to go make a film or his show, Twisted Metal. So I definitely see Will Ospreay having a lot of competition. Andrade's still there. Mark Briscoe's probably going to pop up. Kyle Fletcher for sure. Kevin Knight's right there now. There's at least 5 people he could feud with right off the jump. Like seriously. Kenny Omega, they were talking a few months back or a month back saying, don't stop your dreams. I'm still chasing Wembley. You should be chasing it too. So it's possible his first feud could be against Kenny Omega and then Swerve and then, all the other guys that I mentioned before. But there was a part that Will got so upset he actually swung on Swerve. Swerve was in shock. He goes like this to Nana, and Nana gives him the chain. When the chain comes out, they kind of have like a standoff, and then you hear the Death Riders come out. They come out for the save. Will kind of like calm the riders down, like, "Yo, I got this, I got this." And then Swerve was like, "See, you did change. You ain't need help before like this." But Will Ospreay is still upset with the Death Riders for coming for the assist. He wanted to handle Swerve himself, to the point he choked Danny Garcia in the back, like by his shirt. He had him choking like, yeah, man, come on. Like he was choking the shit out of him. So he's riding with the Death Rider, but he also said to Swerve, I don't forget what they did to me. I didn't forgive them. So, like I mentioned, I think Mox is trying to get Will in the door to get the championship to then later have a title shot against Will. Moxley hasn't taken a break in a long time. So it's possible Moxley could be the first person to face Will Ospreay after he gets his title. And then Moxley finally takes that, break that he was supposed to take like 3 or 4 years ago and actually take some time off with his wife and his kid. But crazy segment. The Death Riders keep showing up. Swerve is pissed. So it's going to be a crazy ass match at Forbidden Door. I still see it being Will Ospreay in his favor, if anything. Swerve can still be a tremendous champion or competitor for that match or for the title, I mean. So either way, I'd be happy with it because Swerve is still good as hell. But I think Will has it this time around. Now, let me know what y'all think. MJF and the family with versus Mark Briscoe. And he did mention before the match, like, hey, you did take out Ishii, but that man don't stay down, so you'll be seeing him soon. And then he goes, but I got to take my boys from the conglomeration. So he's got Kyle O'Reilly, he's got Roddy Strong, he's got OC and himself. So that's four. He was like, hey, Okada, and I got somebody for you. And boom, Takeshita pulls in wearing all white. So already he's looking like, he's changing his ways and stuff. And he was like, and the TNT champion, Kevin Knight, I got something for you too. And then boom, Darby jumps in. And Darby goes and tells Briscoe, yo, this is your turn. He goes, my turn passed. He goes, you're next to be champion. I don't see that being the case, honestly. I see Briscoe's team at Forbidden Door winning. So this way Briscoe get a title shot, but I don't see Briscoe winning, at least not yet. I'd be surprised if Briscoe beats MJF. But I was shocked when the Darby beat MJF, so I could be wrong. But it is what it is. But again, you had MJF and his hand-picked selection from the Don Callis family, Kyle Fletcher, Okada, Kevin Knight, Jake Doyle, and Andrade reluctantly versus Takeshita, Mark Briscoe, Conglomeration, OC, Roddy, Kyle Fletcher, and Darby. This match was crazy. This match was all over the place. Of course, 6 dudes wrestling. They were outside, inside, people getting involved. They did make a stipulation for this match that no one was allowed to win by disqualification. If anything, if somebody did do a disqualification, that person would be removed from the match, causing their team to be one man short. So the Conglomeration and Mark Briscoe there, excuse me, they said that they were going to make sure they do it by the book because he did want to hit MJF in the head with a chair. But during that match, you had Kyle versus Kyle, so the fans were cheering Kyle. It didn't matter who, was both Kyle O'Reilly and Kyle Fletcher were in the ring. It was just a good match. Honestly, everybody was doing their finishers or hitting a hard move on each other, looking good. Everybody was doing their thing. Now, there was a few times, again, that Andrade and MJF aren't on the same page. And it also looks like Kyle Fletcher and Kevin Knight are on the same page. And I did mention already that Trent Beretta is upset about not being handpicked as well. The Don Callis family might be falling apart a little bit, or at least might be losing a few people. I know Andrade is out the door. They already lost to Keshida. So who else is leaving the Don Callis family? Is it Beretta? Andrade for sure. I just don't know when. Now, MJF's team does win this match. Okay. Long story short, they do win the match. They look incredible. Everybody looked good during this match, honestly. They did win the match. This was just kind of like a foreshadowing what's going to happen at Forbidden Door. The only difference is Forbidden Door, it's a steel cage. 12 dudes in a steel cage. I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see. Now, at the end of the show, though, I'm going to put some pictures later on. You see the entire Don Cal family, MJF, standing over the person they just pinned, holding their titles up because a few of them got titles, you know. Um, Andrade though stands on the left corner and just like shaking his head like he's pissed. Like, why are we doing this? You know, he doesn't want to help MJF. He's just like whatever. Now, you also had to the right of that Kyle Fletcher and Kevin Knight kind of like jostling for position to pose and stuff with Kevin Knight with his title, and then Kyle Fletcher flexing. They were kind of like getting jostling, kind of pushing each other back. So you're having two issues with the Don Callis family. Kyle Fletcher doesn't like Kevin Knight. Trent Beretta also is upset he wasn't picked, so that's two. The third, rather, Andrade for sure is upset that they're helping MJF. Now, I did mention Selena Vega is no longer with WWE. Andrade is talking more, but he's also had like a little wording, how you know. So, do you think Selena Vega might be coming back to help Andrade to be his mouthpiece again? They could call her something else, they could just call her Vega or something. But what do you guys think? Does Andrade need some assistance when he goes solo? Or do you think that he can carry himself? I think he can carry himself, but his English isn't 100%. But Andrade is a tremendous wrestler, and I think he can continue to build on that. This feud with MJF is going to be a great match because he keeps ducking MJF keeps ducking Andrade. He keeps letting other people say a yes to their matches, but no to Andrade multiple times. So that's definitely going to happen. I did mention this in a short, if I'm not mistaken, but I do believe that Andrade is going to be that factor that causes MJF, the match, their team to lose, for them to have Mark Briscoe get his title shot. I definitely see that being the case. Mark Briscoe might get a title shot on Dynamite because the Forbidden Door the pay-per-view is for them to see if he can get a shot or not. So it's possible he can wrestle him on Dynamite. I don't see Mark Briscoe beating MJF, but I was wrong with Darby beating MJF. So it is possible. It could happen. But Andrade is that factor that I think will cause MJF's team to lose that match and then be catapulted to number one contender because MJF's gonna be pissed. Because I don't see again Mark Briscoe beating him. He's gonna give Kevin Knight a shot. I don't think he's gonna win there either. And then Andrade is technically the next person, or Kenny Omega. So let's see. It's MJF. You got a couple bullseyes on your back. But we'll see, guys. Great episode of Dynamite. This episode was actually better than last week's. I know last week people were saying that it wasn't that great. But it's gonna be Forbidden Doors building up. This episode was really good as well. So what y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great one.